also. But it's the brake assembly. What that does is there's a clutch back behind there, and when I pull it apart, you'll see what the clutch system looks like. That clutch hits this and it disengages the up and down motor, as it should, so that puts it at the right height. But when you drive it down in a fast fashion, if you hit fast and drive it downward, it drives down at a faster pace, and what it does is when it hits that, it ends up cocking it upwards. And that's fine a couple of times, but when you consistently keep coming down and hitting that, we've found that it starts to bend this to where eventually it snaps and it breaks. So you may want to suggest to all customers that whenever they're driving it up and down, you want to do it in slow, preferably slow, but you can do it in medium, but never do it in fast. I'm all for changing the firmware and taking fast out of there. You should do that, because it does cause damage to the unit. Yeah, I just want to check. That wasn't down. There's some more of it.
Just one from above.
The 10th slot up from the bottom, or you can look at it the other way. See the slot that it's in right now? The third one down from the top. See the slot here? The third one down from the top is what you're going to put it to in order to do your basket wobble measurement. A little helpful bit of advice there.
You can do it by rotating the shaft. If you start rotating, yeah, it will go clockwise.
Nope. One more. We can mess it all up. That's that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh down from the bottom, from the top, is for the shaft adjustment, for the shaft wobble. I actually have a clip-on that I clip on there that takes it all the guesswork out of it. So.
No, a él le voy a escribir un correo, pero contigo quería ver unas columnas que no he querido. Ya, es que ahora está bien. Listo, listo, cuídate. Chao, chao.
Yeah. The D-clutch system touches it. And
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this off
engage,
so you can see how it works.
rotation, disengage, up and down movement. And when you have issue with the D-clutch system, it's really pain in the ass.
Yes. As you can see, the top of it has the same thing as on the other bath, a slip ring assembly. We've kind of sorted out all the problems, but we used to have a problem. Where's the cover right there? The way that it's sat up inside here, it slides up inside there. The wire goes up the back of it here and gets caught in that channel that's inside there. We used to have a problem with that spinning around and getting caught inside there and making a lot of noise. The customers didn't like the noise that was going on inside there, so they made some adjustments to the way the wiring gets routed.
You have to make this transparent in order to.
Yeah, you can see it.
You can put it easily. Otherwise, your neck will have some issues to see like this.
I know. And there's one more. One right here on top, right there. So 4 screws. But again, you have to do this with every single position when you're doing the PM. And now this will come off. When you play with it long enough. And it comes off. You want to set that back over there? As you can see, this is your brake assembly right here. Here's your gear back here and the way that the cable's all routed back there. This is the motor driving it up and down, and there's a clutch system right here, this clutch. What happens is it gets driven downward, it'll hit against here and it will stop it.
Vessel, which vessel?
I want to do it 5, and I want to do it. Should never run it at high.
Yeah, but there's another settings. You shall avoid high speed. Yeah, as usual. I'll put it on high and press on slow.
Now raise it back up. Go,
Yeah.
go full travel high. All the way.
It got lost.
Yes.
It
Yep.
got lost.
Is it high speed? It shouldn't be high, right?
This is a high speed.
Okay.
So if you want them to the bottom, then you have.
Why this happening? Why this
No,
happening?
he's got it on press and hold.
Uh-huh.
It's a press and hold, and then you can do full travel.
If you
Yes, if you
activate
run
rotation, it will go down.
all the way to the bottom and then start running.
Yeah.
So see, it hits against the brake assembly here.
Mm-hmm.
Once it does, it lifts the clutch off, disengages the motor going up and down, and now it starts rotating. But that's what this is called, the brake assembly, because it hits against it and disengages the clutch. And now there's 2 belts. There's one down here, and there's one up here that needs to be lubed, and it needs to be lubed with high temperature grease. It's a brown grease that we have. You can get it anywhere, but it's a high temperature grease that it needs to be lubed with. I usually put a little piece of it on.
It's very loose. It's
Yes.
supposed to
Should
be like that.
It should be like
very
this.
loose.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Um,
those Teflon parts
Right here.
becomes smaller and smaller, and you cannot straight tighten the belt.
I usually get
Sometimes it's touching, the side cover.
Mhm.
If you over lube it,
Yeah.
Yes.
it
I-
becomes like.
You want a thin layer, a very
Yeah.
thin layer, and I take it and I usually use a Q-tip, any kind of small piece of something you can get a dab of it on the end of it to put down underneath it here and then touch the sides of it with it. Because it's hard to get your fingers down inside here and do this. These ones here you can actually get your finger on
Yeah.
and go ahead and lube it. And you don't want, like you said, you want to wipe off all the excess because once you get done lubing it, when it's running on here, it'll glob up all the excess on the sides of this because it is running behind here. You can't see it, but you see the belts that are right there. Just imagine the plastic that's sitting on top of here.
It's the same motor that's
No.
that down is
It's one motor, yeah.
Yes.
Once it turns this thing, and the clutch only engage and disengage this belt.
No, it's a mid stop. I'm gonna hit full travel. Up.
If it hits the upper part, now it's okay.
It's slowing down.
Mhm.
If it hits it,
Turn the power off over there for me.
it means that it lost its position because there is a flag and 2 sensors. And
optical sensors.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Optical
pull it out so I
sensor.
can show you.
if you go only half direction, it doesn't
put this
reach
over
the
there?
next
Thank you.
sensor, it lost its position, and you need to make one full travel down and up in order to find itself. Otherwise, it goes up and doesn't stop like now smoothly.
No, 'cause-
But
or,
just
or,
hit it.
or the flag is broke, it's not
Yeah.
reading the sensor.
And the biggest issue is with cleaning shafts.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to understand.
Nope. Well, that's the thing, and I'll explain it to you guys once I get this out. I'm gonna show it to you. This is the assembly, so they can be replaced one at a time. Simply, they plug in the back there, as you can see here. And it's just a matter of these two screws and then the cover being put back together. That's all that's holding it together. This.
This has additional screw up here
Yeah.
to hold the shaft.
Well,
in place.
it gets this here and the screw, although that's been taken out. Missing.
What's missing?
One screw.
You know how these,
Collar.
your shaft collar has that Allen head that goes through it? It's missing it right here.
On that one?
This
It's
You
missing.
need it because it places the
It's hold- it
collar,
holds
it's
this.
hold.
Yeah, I can
collar
actually- I'm
to the
gonna be able to
shaft,
move this.
And those screw
Stops it
hold
from
it to
falling.
not to
Up and down.
fall. Hold on.
But anyways, this is what we're talking about here when he
This is
talks about the
the
flag
sensor.
system right here.
Those sensors.
What is the
See this right here?
Flag, yeah.
This will come down and it reads the flag on top of there. So that, and if it misreads that, it throws it all out of whack.
It's only one sensor.
Yeah,
Only one.
Yep.
So it knows that this is in the
Yeah,
half way.
this,
Mhm.
the halfway.
So that area has to be clean.
Then it
Yes.
counts the steps
But
to
this,
go up.
this,
It goes up to the where?
it's a
Is it
step.
coming position here on the flag? Is
Well,
it
that's the
coming-
middle position. And it's
Middle.
It's a step. And
It goes down, right?
So from there, it can actuate and it can read via electronic programming at the halfway point how many steps it needs to go up and how many steps it needs to go down. And if it loses that, that's when he was talking about. Sometimes it'll come all the way up and you'll hear it hit all the way up. In which case you have to run it down and then full back up again for it to find its position again, the home position.
So that's the clutch, right?
That's the clutch. So what it does, it runs downward, and once that clutch hits against the brake assembly, it pushes it up and it disengages it. See? Spins like this, spins up and down. And then if you hit the clutch assembly, it can't. I'm not getting it right. There we go. It's staying in place.
Yeah, should be moving this way. Motor.
The same centering setting, the same verticality settings.
Yep. Everything's the same, except for the height adjustment. It's a little bit different.
We have the neutral position, that's it. Yeah. Unscrew these two guys and put them down with the paddles.
But as you can see here, now we were talking about the sintering. Same thing exists here. See how the system is? Much like that over there. It's sitting on the top instead of underneath the bottom. So it's going to be the same thing. It's opposite of how that was over there. It's the same type of setup, only instead of being mounted from the bottom and the set screws being driven down from the top, it's upside down. The set screws are on top of here, but they work the opposite way, changing the pitch. Any questions about this right here?
Ask them to change this belt.
No. I don't want to change that.
Me too.
It's a pain.
I don't know, that's the thing.
And there's not,
have to
and
disconnect
there's,
all
yeah,
these parts.
there, I could sit here and go through it with you guys and
Some
talk
of
to you
us.
about it, but it's some of the things that you have to do on these instruments are something that you need to experience. You just have to go through it. And it's just a matter, you guys can all look at this and you can observe it from you guys are all field service technicians. You guys all do some type of field service work. From a mechanically aptitude mind, you have to take a look at it and start deciphering how it comes apart. And how it comes apart is simply by taking it apart. You can see how this is all mounted together. This entire assembly up on top here has to be taken off in order to get the belt up and off.
If it is under warranty, we change the belt. If it is not, we coat the whole module.
Or you ship the whole thing back to us and make us fix it.
For $1,000. This belt cost 50 cents.
Yeah, but it'll take,
Dealer price.
but it'll take you 2 hours to change it.
Every customer pays
Yeah, and
and
2 hours, yeah.
And it'll take you 2 hours to change it.
The other big pain is if you bend this,
Oh.
then the flag will break the sensor.
It hits the sensor and breaks it off.
Yeah.
Because this is all
You
metal
change
back
the
here.
sensor
You see this right
only
here?
or the
No.
whole
This is
board?
metal, so if any of this
Model
back
board.
here gets
The
bent,
whole board.
and it changes where this flag is coming down at, it's gonna hit this sensor right here. And when it does it, it'll just hit the front of this right here. When it hits that right there, it just snaps it right off.
And you need new model board.
That board will have to be changed. So again, like I said, there's a lot of things about this unit.
Less rigid flag, you know, like.
Well, I don't know if it's that as much as this. I like the what the
Because
features
it
that this
needs
unit
time
has.
to
I don't like
slow
how
the
it was put
speed.
together.
You know, if you
It's
set
got a lot
high
of good things,
speed,
but it's not put
it
together
goes
very
too
well.
fast
Yeah.
to the sensor, and then it
What is the sensor for stop?
Well, this here actually is for setting the height, first off, different height. Plus, it's called the brake. Back here, what happens is, see this right here?
Ah, okay.
This comes down and this
Ah.
right here hits that and disengages it. That's the clutch.
Okay.
So that will disengage the motor. Once it gets pushed up, it stops.
Okay.
So when I put it back in here, I'll show you again with it off, when it's on there, how it works. And again, putting it in is simply just a matter of centering it. This one. You know, you're changing the height on all those.
Yeah. Why it doesn't?
You can turn it on over there? As you can see, it's the brown grease that gets on there. This, all, this right here. That's the high temperature grease. Thanks. And watch when it hits against the back here. It disengages that clutch.
So this setting press and hold, that means if you...
Well, watch. Just let me stop it. See, full travel. It'll do the full travel here. Now, if I want to do press and hold,
Until you hold it,
okay,
okay.
go. Pulse. Just a little bit, baby increments. Just goes down in pulse, and then full travel.
But if you are upper than the middle of the way and you hit full travel, it will not detect yet.
You want to detect what? If it does what?
If you are like
No. It's
if you are like here and you say full travel and up,
It'll go. Because the clutch hasn't been engaged yet. So it's going to. It only that halfway point only comes into place once it hits the clutch. Like if I run it down right now and I engage the clutch back here, then it's going to throw it off. then I'm gonna have to run it all the way down and all the way back up again, full travel, in order for it to see the step motor again and to reset it. But that's just because the clutch gets engaged. Only when the clutch gets engaged does it have to go past through that sensor again. Everything's full up. All right, let me get this. Any questions about how to take this apart and lube anything and everything in there? Again, the fun part of it, these break sometimes. In order to change it, there's 2 screws. They're on the other side here, on the back of it here. The only way to get to it is by having it backwards and taking the screws. There's just 2 Phillips head screws that actually back out, and then it unclamps from either side of this.
The whole module has to be
Yes.
taken out and then.
Yep. Trying to think of what else. That's about it, other than the routing, but that's in and of itself. We're gonna go through the, how to set the height on it. So let me get the cover.